Hey gang, happy January 24th, the Saturday of Namm Day. I went to Namm on Thursday, which is the sort of opening day. And it's kind of nice because it's a little more low key, but there aren't as many of the cool performances. Like I saw that Paul Gilbert and Steve Morse were playing, and Phil X was at the Friedman booth today, so I didn't get to see any of that. Missed Phil X as he actually passed by the booth on Thursday too. So it's funny, on Thursday, the feel is my perception was that, man, well, I used to come to Namm and then you'd see like a ton of like rock stars and stuff. And Thursday felt like no rock stars, all YouTubers and social media people. So I saw like a ton of people that I was friends with, or I am friends with, I should say. And I saw a bunch of people that I watch online. And it's funny. I hope I get his last name right. I'm really bad with that. I just kind of create a name in my head. But Steve Starlucci. It's a strong Italian name, but he does great content, great guitar player, and he also is does really great like modeler content. So especially when the Line 6 was coming out, I was watching that all the time to kind of get, he was my source of info on there. So I met him and I saw him about 20 feet away, and I've watched so many of his videos. I just went up and I was like, Steve, as if I knew him. You know, it was kind of funny. And I forgot that I've never met him. And he was the same. He was like, Michael, hey. And it was like, oh, we've never met each other. It was just kind of a funny meet, but super nice guy. So you get those kind of nice moments where you're like, I'm really glad I came. That's real cool. Tried to make a little outline so I didn't miss a ton of stuff. If there's any super chats, I'll do them at the end. So I'm going to try to stay kind of on target for Namm when we get going here. Let's see. Hey, Michael Torin. Lance, what's up, my man? Braxel, hey, bud. Your name came up. I saw someone like, I'm friends with Braxel. I was like, oh, that's awesome. He's great. And I saw someone mention, let me just go back. Oh, Braxel, maybe that's who it was. You know, it's like I met so many people, I can't remember where the name came up, but yes, and I'm so sorry. Which one is Gear Safari? What's your name? I can't remember what the connection was to Gear Safari. I remember the name Gear Safari, but hang on, I'm looking for the thing that I gotta shout this out. Cole, that's very generous of you. My wife was like, that is so generous. That's so nice. And cheers to you, man. Thank you. Talked about GC a while back, shipping their used stuff in less than ideal care. Yeah, I mean, just throwing shit in a box. You should see the head shell of an amp delivered to me yesterday. Oh no, dude. I mean, it's such a slap in the face as a company. Like, ah, man, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Okay, well, someone in there mentioned that the boss, here we go. I think I don't know how to share. I'm going to try share screen. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's going to work. Great. Look, and it happened so fast, guys. It didn't take me 20 minutes. It usually takes me 20 minutes to do this stuff. I'm looking for the quote again. That someone mentioned the boss well, I'm going to click this so it's out of the way. Hey, Michael Torrent. The Boss GX1 as being nominated at Best of Show for Namm 2026, and they're very interested in it. And hey, Amanda, thanks for being here. And Raphael, hey, thanks, buddy. I will touch on that, I promise. And hopefully you could stick around. If not, the answer will be in the YouTube rebroadcast of this. So this Boss thing, quite cool-ish. My problem with this is the same problem. No, it's not the same problem. The problem with this is the Boss PX1. That is the thing they released last year to much controversy. The single Boss pedal, digital, that came with like 6 emulations or 12 emulations, and then when you log in, you get another 12. And so you get this set, some of them kind of rare, of Boss pedals, things like slow gear, which, I don't know, you don't want to pay $200 for a slow gear, or $500, whatever, or DD2. So some cool stuff. And when I talked to the Boss guys, they said they went back and they modeled so hard to get it just right. So, which tells me, and also based on like the Boss DD500, they're all in one delay, versus the Boss SDE 3000, where they're like, yeah, we got it so close. And then the next one comes out, they're like, no, now we got it so close. So there's always this thing with digital. We could touch on this later too. It's always a thing with digital where they're like, it's perfect, you'll never notice the difference. And then the next one comes and like, forget what we said before. That one was okay. This new one is perfect. You'll never hear the difference. So that said, the PX1 is good, right? Except it doesn't have MIDI. You can alternate between two sounds, but I don't think you can alternate and bypass. So you always want to have a delay on and then jump to the chorus and then back to the delay. It's a stupid design for almost the same price as this Boss GX1, which is clearly like a more multi-effect with some stuff. And it's in this X1 line, so PX1, GX1. So it would make me think that they're putting the same effects, or they're not, which then to me, it's misleading. What are you guys doing over there? But most importantly, where is the PX1 update? An entire year has gone by, and I haven't heard one word of a single new algorithm being added to that. And that was their pitch. Like, I mean, Boss is not known for updates. Boss does something and they're like, here it is. Now we're off. So that, I mean, I almost bought a PX1 a couple months ago. And then I talked myself out of it because I don't think they're ever going to update that thing, man. I hope they make me eat my words. I hope I'm wrong about that. So anyway, let's get into some gear from the Namm. I got to start, of course, with well, you know what? Before I dive in, let's hit this Raphael question. Mike, do you think technology can get in the way of musicianship or a musician? Yes, but I think it's at the starting line. So if you think of like there's an Axe Effects right here, right? I put in a lot of time on the Axe Effects programming when I could have been practicing, and I would have, in the amount of hours I've spent programming the Axe Effects, I probably could have been a noticeably better musician. You know, like I could have practiced my inversions or something like that, or chord substitutions or anything. It's been hours, like adding up to days, right? So I would say that would qualify as getting in the way. And did it bring that much to my life ease of use, tone, listening experience for the listener or the player, whatever. Nah, not really. It's like it was this much time invested for this much return. So yeah, I think it can get in the way. Would I do it again? Probably, and I'm going to do it again. I'll program that and have it perfect, and then I'll go, cool, sounds good. I'm going to build something else, and I'm going to program it because in a sense that does bring me joy. So you look, I think it's one of those things. If it brings you joy, have at it, dude. All right. Let's see. See if I could stay on target. See if I can stay on target now. Synergy machine learning power amp. That was major. To me, that's probably the most, I'm going to be biased, of course, but that's the most wow thing that I saw at Namm. I think across the board, maybe. So the Synergy machine learning power amp technology is in 2 products, right? And feel free to ask questions if you have any in there, and I will do my best to hit that as I'm talking through these, right? The 2 products. It's coming out in the Wampler pedal head, which is this big, nice, small. Oh, can I share this? Can I share you an image file? Oh, I got to do it from here. Oh, it doesn't like that either. Sorry. I'll just share my screen. Just make this easy. Window, Namm. There we go. So is it going to let me do this? No, you get to look at files. How exciting is that? How about that? I'm just going to share my whole screen. I give up. You get to see all the stuff. Share entire screen. Entire screen. All right. The Synergy machine learning power amp technology is in 2 products. It's coming in the Wampler pedal head, right? That is this beauty. That is just a little bigger than a Boss pedal and weighs maybe less than a Boss pedal. It is 42 watts. So, you know, anytime a power amp comes out that's solid state, it's always like, it's 100 watts, but is it 100 watts of what we know? You know, what are we measuring against? So that is a big deal with tubes or tubes versus solid state. And what happens with solid state amps often is they measure like their 2 ohm output or their 4 ohm output. And when you plug that solid state power amp, because that's what this is, it's just a power amp. When you plug that into a 16 ohm 412 cab, it is no longer 100 watts. It's down to like 15 watts. And it just lacks that, it lacks headroom. It lacks that tube amp dynamics and punch, and just kind of falls apart. And that's kind of what we've been stuck with, to be honest. And I was talking to another company, and they're like, yeah, we're putting out a solid state power amp too. And I know it doesn't have any of this, the new Synergy. And I was like, oh, maybe you shouldn't put it out. Like, why would you do it? You're just like, this really solves a problem that there was a gap, and they filled the gap in a big way. So how would you use this? You have any modeler, and let's say you have a quad cortex, Kemper. This is going to sound better than the power amp you could buy for your Kemper, and it's going to be more powerful. So you just Velcro it to the back of your Kemper and you're good to go. The thing does not get hot. I've jammed on this for hours, and then you feel it and it's body temperature. So quite amazing technology in there. And it sounds like a tube amp, feels like a tube amp. It's just awesome. All right, how do I feel that for a sec? Yeah, it's really great. Now, it's so hard to demo. So I had to do a demo of the pedal head at Namm, and we did it in the creator content lounge. And they go, yeah, it could be as loud as an acoustic guitar and spoken word. And I'm like, oh my God, what is the equivalent of that with a like a Friedman small box? Because we were gonna A/B that. So they're like, all right, you could have 60 seconds at any volume you want. And so that was including the sound check. And unfortunately, we didn't even have time to really get the level perfectly balanced. And so when he goes, can you hear a difference? Like 3 people are like, I could hear a difference. Yeah, because the levels were like this. But at the Friedman Wampler Synergy booth, they had a private room for a lot of the, I guess whoever they're going to show. And man, it's so funny to watch people go like, that one is the solid state one. And then Leo would go and he would unplug the solid state, the machine learning power amp. And they'd be like, oh shit, totally got it wrong. Happened all the time. Crazy. So the pedal head, and this is maybe, so don't quote me on the price. The pedal head is going to be less than $700, probably way less than $700. I'm throwing in extra $100 because I don't know. It could be, I would say, between $500 and $700. I would love it for it to be $300, but it's not that. I mean, it's a legit. If you look at, say, like the Seymour Duncan Power Stage Stereo 200, I think that's what it's called, which this sounds significantly better than. And props to the Power Stage, because that came out and that filled a gap, and they've been rocking that stuff. I mean, that's kudos to them for a great product. But this is better. This totally, I bought a Power Stage to A/B it. It was no competition. It was like, dude, it's like taking a solid state crate amplifier versus like a Friedman small box. It was not even cute, the difference. And then I immediately sold it. I was like, there's no even point for me to carry this around. The release date on the pedal head is it's this year. I'm hoping summer, from what I've heard. I was hoping it was imminent, like February, but I don't think it's February. And I think there's going to be a monster demand for it. So I think they have to make a bunch of them. Right. Okay. So the other side of the machine learning power amp is the Friedman IR-Load up here, top here, which people were hashtagging IR-Load. And after that, I was like, all I see is IR-Load in that. Technically, it's the IR-Load, and same power amp technology. The one in the IR-Load is a little more powerful. And I think that was because of some power supply stuff, perhaps, and heat dispersion and that kind of stuff. But they do sound the same. Like if you're at a human volume when you're listening, you're like, either one sounds the same as a power amp, as a stereo power amp. That said, the pedal head has these power amp modes that you could jump between. They are not things that you can model your favorite power amp. They come, that's the machine learning part. Like Leo, the tech designer for Synergy, the head engineer guy, he models the power amp, and that's the machine learning, not to mention the learn function, but that is what it is. So the pedal head has switchable power amp modes, like 100-watt sort of Friedman power supply, like a Fender 40-watt Fender, or maybe it's a 60-watt Fender or something. And then like a diesel VHT Soldano, that sort of hefty power amp is the third one. I don't know what 5 and 6 are, or 4 and 5, but 6 then is flat also, which is great to have. And it's funny, flat sounded very similar to like the power amp in the TwoNotes Reload 2 and a little closer to the Seymour Duncan because it's just flat. There's no extra sauce happening there. But that could be cool, you know, if you're looking for just like, I just need a power amp with no color. So it'll also do that. It'll have no color if you want it to. Oh, I'm sure he misspoke. It's so hard to talk at NAMM when it's hard to think at NAMM. Someone said, "Hey, play a Bryan Adams song," and I know like 5 Bryan Adams songs, and I could not remember even how they went in my head, so I couldn't play it because I'm like, I don't remember. There's just so much going on. It's so crazy. All right, so back to the IR-Load. The IR-Load. There's a reactance knob on the IR-Load instead of power amp styles or models. So all the way to the left is the most Friedman. It's I know it's based on it's either the power section out of like the Jose or BE100 Deluxe. But I think it might be the Jose power section that he modeled it on. And then you go all the way to the right and it turns flat. And that makes a lot of sense for the IR-Load because if you're already cranking a tube amp into it, you just want flat volume, perhaps. And to be honest, I kind of liked the I'm so glad they did a knob and not a switch because the in-between stuff was kind of nice. Like, oh, it was a whole nother set of tone controls in a different way. So I really liked to see that on there, and that sounded great. The depth and presence sound fantastic. They also will affect the sound coming out of the balanced out. So they'll affect the cabinet, but they also affect if you're just going to use it as a load box, plug your Jose, turn it on 10, go into the IR-Load, and you want a little more depth. Like the Jose doesn't have a thump or depth control. So you can add that in there. Put the IR inside the IR-Load. I'm sure it'll ship with some, but you should probably get mine because they sound the best. And then those controls, all the tone controls work. Everything is MIDI. You'll be able to, I talked to Leo about this. You'll be able to take it live, right? And then if set up all your stuff, you could switch to have the thump come down, like for your clean tones. You could actually have a like plus whatever in the volume for your solo boost on that side. So with just a plexi, you can have 10 tones with MIDI going there. I mean, it starts to become a complicated rig, but I mean, that's the world I live in, is complicated rig. Anyway, that IR-Load is great. Let me see. I'm just going to check and see if there's any directly related questions on that. Brian Wampler mentioned the tentative release date is Black Friday. Is Black Friday like September or November? That seems a long way away. I'm not, maybe. I don't know. I hope not. Does the Friedman IR-Load do the same thing and more that the TwoNotes Reload 2 does? Yes. Oh, let's kill this. Yes. So the Friedman IR-Load does everything in the category. That's how I've been looking at it. Like the Friedman power station, which sort of kicked off this craze of this amazing technology of going into a load box and then re-amplifying the tone, instead of using an attenuator, which like the UA aux box uses an attenuator, which just it like holds the sound back. It's just not the best way. There's not as much control typically. I mean, there's the Tone King Iron Man. It's a great attenuator, but even still, it's like, okay, well, if you just have a preset level, you're trying to pull your volume back, it's fine for that, I guess. But it's just not nearly as versatile as doing things like the PS100, the PS2, which are, so the Friet are tube, great load box into a mono tube power amp. Friet power amp. Guy makes, he's the godfather of tube power amps in my book. Okay, so then the Reload 2, they have a better load box. The load sounds great in that, really nice. Up to this point, I think like the Reload 2, which is a big improvement on their previous load boxes. The Red 7, the Saint Rock, all killer load boxes. Those were my favorite of this past generation of stuff. The Reload 2 has a stereo solid state power amp, and it's all analog circuitry, right? So the Friedman IR-Load has stereo power amp, but it has the sauce on the power amp. So if you're just comparing power amps to power amps, the Friedman would be more fighting against the Friets, but it's also stereo and it holds its own. If not, in some cases, it's better. No, some people, myself included, sometimes will be like, well, tubes or die, tubes or nothing. So the Friedman is the next best thing to get to that tube sound. The load box is maybe the best I've heard. I did a comparison before I had to give it back, and it's always at the top. That's great. Just, it does everything. So yes, it's in that category of the Power Station, the Reload 2, but it does everything that each of them does. The only difference is it's not tube, but sounds wise, I don't know if anyone or many of you would be able to tell the difference. I do not know about that. All right, that's a lot of talk on these guys. All right, one more in that world is the, I just hit my chest on that. Oh, hurt. How do I make that go away? Find it again. Yeah. All right, cool. The Tone King Royalist. So if you are familiar with the Tone King Imperial, which is one of the best clean to like sort of dumble dirt amps ever, this is the best amp. It just has no power, right? You can't plug this into a cabinet. You can plug it direct. You can plug this into your Jose or your anything with an effects loop, and this will be the clean tone, and the dirty tone. You get two more channels that just loops in this really elegant way. This is the dirty buddy, the dirty side of things. So it's like 3 styles of vintage Marshall or the Royalist head, which is like a JTM 45 going down to that like 64 mode, and then 67 is like a plexi, and then 70 is a later era plexi with a little more bite, a little harder sounding. There are 2 distinct tone stacks. They sound really similar, but they're not exactly identical. Up here, it's like a Bassman JTM 45, and down here is more of the later plexi stuff. So if you set the tones identical, it'd be a little different. It's enough to go like, oh, I think I prefer my cleans here or here, that kind of thing. And again, direct out, you could loop in your amps. This is kind of cool because a lot of backline you'll see is like a Fender Hot Rod DeVille or something like that. And then you could get those all day long. And you just loop this sucker in with that. And you have a really lovely clean tone on the Fenders. And now you got you got the dirt. This sounds great. It gets dirty up to just about Van Halen level. Definitely AC/DC level, and just about touching Van Halen level of dirt. Depends on your pickups, obviously. If you have hot pickups, you're in Van Halen level. If you don't, you're just about under that sort of heat of Van Halen. Sounds amazing. Take a Wampler pedal head, and now you have basically like a 50-watt 2-channel insane amp that weighs nothing on your pedal board. This weighs nothing too. I mean, it's so light. All it's got is all tubes, rocking tubes. But that is absolutely killer. Absolutely killer. Yeah, I know. It's always like, wah, wah, wah. I was going to a place and he's like, don't worry about it. We have amps. I'm like, yeah, sure you do. No, I've heard that before. Oh, you got amps. All right. So yeah, and just to be clear, because it was interesting hearing, talking to humans at NAMM and trying to understand what they know. So I mean, I'm so into the load box worlds and recording and stuff. Just like the pedal, Wampler pedal head is an amp. It's an amplifier. So it's the power amp side. So that's going to take the power of your modeler or your preamp, or you could take a distortion pedal and run through it, and it's going to make it loud through 412 cabinet, 112 cabinet, whatever you've got there. But they do have IR out, so you could go direct as well. And then the Friedman one's too. It's got too many features to throw into a soundbite. Speaking of more Friedman stuff, the PHX, the PX20, you don't see that. I tried to get a price from Dave. I have not heard what the price is on the PX20. Come on, open up, man. There we go. PX20 is the red knobbed amp above the Jakey Lee here. And the knobs are matching the J-Rocket PX0, the PHX overdrive, which is an amazing overdrive, by the way. Super phenomenal. So this amp is killer. This is what it is, essentially. It's an 800 JCM 800 dirty channel and a Dumble clean channel. I mean, okay, done, right? No, he's not done. So then he added the thump knob, which he didn't really have on, I think, any of the 20 watters. And Dave was telling me that him and another buddy that I know has amazing ears were sitting listening, jumping between like an 800 and the PX20, and with the thump knob, they're like, yeah, well, now I can't tell the difference. That's, you know, there it is. Sounds incredible. There's also a third channel, which is similar to like you would find on the IRX. So it's a boost. It's a third channel, which is a front end boost. So you have like clean boost into the dirty side, and then also master volume change for that third channel. There's a full system volume for everything, but so that third channel hits the front end harder, you get more dirt, and you could change the level. Or don't add any dirt, and now you have a level up there, right? Oh, thank you for this. Dave said on Premier Guitar that the PX20 would possibly be 1,800 bucks. I'm not surprised. It's got a lot more stuff going on than the other, like the JEL. And the JEL is, I think, 1,600, maybe 1,699. It's right around there. And I know that, dude, they're getting killed on the tariffs. Oh, buddy. Just like these poor companies are just getting fleeced, man. It's crippling. So, you know, if it went up $100, I am not surprised. I'm surprised if anything stays the same price into next year, this 2026, you know. Oof. Oh, and I apologize. I haven't really mentioned Pete Thorne much, mostly because he's not in the country. I think he's been out of the country. Just poor timing. For the Pete Thorne is involved in the IR-Load. It's I think the initial concept, you know, are things that Dave and he talk about a lot. And so I can't wait to see what Pete does with this thing, and I'm sure he'll take it out on the road and stuff. All right, so now this is the first mind freaking blowing thing I heard at Namm on Thursday. The Friedman VX30. It's the Vox. The Vox head. It is like the Brilliant channel is 100% Bryan Adams. The best Vox sounds ever. And the normal channel is Brian May, and somewhere in between there is the Edge. Dudettes, I gotta tell you, plugged a Strat into that, and it was an out-of-body experience on the Namm floor. I'm telling you, dude, it was so good that it made me rethink my entire existence as a guitar player. I don't really have Vox stuff around, but I was like, what? Unfreaking believable. So good. And that was going through a 212 cabinet with Alnico Blues, which I know that's going to be crazy expensive. Because the Friedman Plex, I think that's in the $3,000 range, right? And then the cabinet and then Alnico Blues, that's like a $4,000 easy situation, right? All right, let me hit a couple questions before I jump brands. Let me go off there. If using the load portion only and going direct from the IR-Load, how does the machine learning come into play if there is no speaker? Then the machine learning component of that is the power amp simulation. So if you bring in the load box, that reactance knob, one side it's going to be totally out of the picture, and the other side brings in the sound more of the tube amp sound. So if you want to, you're stacking tube amps, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. Like I mentioned, having the knob instead of a switch is really useful because you can get just a little extra sauce going on. Not to mention, let's say I have a Fender Bassman, right? And I'm plugging into the IR-Load. I can add a little more like sauce there without driving the amp more. But then I also have the presence and depth control on knobs, which I really like. The Friedman power station, which I've used for years and stuff, is fantastic, but there's switches. So what I tend to find is like the sound I want is in between the two switches. So I'm thrilled that they did knobs for everything in that. And again, those are MIDI controllable. So I know if you're recording, it doesn't matter. So I'll shut up. I think the next Tone King Synergy module will be the Imperial. I think you mean that's the one you're going to buy next? Because that's out. Why they decide on that power cable on the pedal head? It's an ergonomic thing. So it uses an IEC cable. That's the 3-pronger, right? Which I'm so glad they didn't make you use like some shitty little cable that goes to a big box power supply to a little, or something where you're like, how am I gonna get this on a pedal board or whatever? So if it came out the straight side, you're stuck. You have to put it on the side. But since it comes on a right angle and just gets out of the way, it's like an extension cord to just get it out of the way as much as possible. Yeah, that's all it was, is just to try, how can we get the cable, make it as much of a non-factor as possible. And that was the most low profile it can go. Friedman both wins by landslide from everything I've seen coming out of Namm. Big fan of the Reload 2 for reloading, but expects this takes to another level. Yeah, but you know, it's a weird thing, and I'm just trying to be as honest as possible because I'm friends with all the companies, friends with Friedman, friends with the TwoNotes guys. I'm friends with the Friedman guy, like friends with, I want them all to succeed. And I don't want to lie to you and everything like that. So it depends on what you're doing. If you, if you have a Reload 2 and you're recording, it's great. It's really great. Are there things I love about it and then don't love about it? Yes, there are things I don't love about it. There's things I don't love about the setup of it, and I don't like that it doesn't have knobs in there. Well, I mean, I don't have to get into what I don't like about it. My point is that there are things that are great about it, and if it's working great for you, we are at the point with the load box where it's like, ooh, we hit the peak. There are some load boxes I don't love the sound of, like the aux. They make up for it with their software. So you could get great sounds on the aux, but just as a load box, the Reload 2 is good. Friedman, I think it's so hard to tell. You know, it gets to an opinion thing. But feature set, the Friedman draws a circle around all of the features that all of the big boys can do. It does everything. And it's the only one that I know of right now that does everything. And does everything is at the highest level. So, you know, it's on the podium for every single one. The Star, I know, I'm hoping they're making the Star guitars. I want a Star guitar so bad. I gotta be honest. If you asked me last year, I would say, no, that's hideous. I'm not into that. But this is Billy, the guy that builds them. I just love the paint that they're doing. Oh, my wife is making a smoothie. Good timing. Sorry about the noise if you hear that. Anyway. Friedman Star with the Dano headstock. Yep. Best of this. So cool. So cool. Oh, thank you. I would love that. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Yeah. Oh, I know. We've talked about this. I know exactly what my big hairy synergy module would be. I already have a map of it. I know. Yeah, I know. I also know that the Friedman, the VX, you could custom order it. I don't know if you guys saw the custom order synergy combos, but I mean, they can make anything. And oh, 27. That's better than I thought it would be. Can you adjust each side of the pedal head separately? No, but I'm going to bring that up. I wonder if that's something in software, if there's like a trim or something they could do in the software. I don't know if that is, well, it's MIDI controllable. I'm going to ask. Thank you for bringing that up. Taking a screenshot of that. Great. Yeah, it is going to it's getting tricky. Again, I'm a tube amp guy. I love solids. There are certain solid state amps that I love, but when I plug in to my Plexi, I'm like, that's it. It's the best amp ever. Yeah, like, it doesn't matter. It's just everything is almost as good as that. And I don't know if I've had enough time with these to tell you that they are better than a tube amp, but I keep getting it wrong which one I'm on, you know. So I like it. That's the really important part. It feels like a tube amp to me, and it feels comfortable, and I'm not thinking about it. I'm just like vibing and going like, yeah, here we go. It's killer, right? So the trade-off is perhaps reliability. I'm terrified every time my tube amp leaves the house. I'm like, do I have to bring it back up for everything and stuff? And the weight, like the weight of when you start putting the power amps in with the other stuff, it's like that shit get heavy. It's nuts, you know. We're gonna see new amps in the same format as the Tone King IR pedal. Much prefer real amps in the load boxes. I do too, Lamar Brewster. I think it's the best way. However, I gotta say, like, I mean, you could decide if when I did that. If you watched, I stole the Synergy. I went to Synergy and stole it video, the last one I put out. I have a section where I play through the Jose, and I hate switching amps because it feels like a comparison. I try not to do a comparison because it's so hard to. There's always something that's gonna make one better. That's not. It's never a fair comparison. So, but there's a section where I do the Royalist into the pedal head, and dude, fuck me, dude. I was like, this is an amazing tone. This is an amazing amp. If I close my eyes and you said, all right, I'm going to plug you into Joe Bonamoss's favorite vintage amp, I would be like, this is a beautiful thing. How can I'll never be able to get this. It's really good. Real good. All right. Stay on target. Real quick, did I see Nuno's guitars? No, to be honest, I hope they're successful because Washburn was not doing them justice. I mean, I think Washburn was just tapped out at that point. So good for him, but I'm not really interested. I'm interested in the Washburns. Like if it said Washburn, that's the Nuno that I like. I want that guitar. So the new ones, it's like a Wild Audio guitar, like the Zach Wild. I have zero desire to have a Zach Wild Audio guitar. I love Zach Wild. Would I take a Zach Wild Les Paul? Even an Epiphone? Probably. All right, maybe one of the Wild Audio Vs. I kind of dig like the V-ish shapes that he's doing, you know. Yeah, and Synergy had a RV, which is like a rocker verb. That sounds very good. It just got totally flattened by all the other new stuff that came out. I don't even think Synergy they're like, we're not even going to try to throw one more thing into the mix here. All right, just moving on. Since we're on guitars, I finally got to try a Tyler JTG guitar. That is their import line. And I was shocked that it had a fat neck, really fat, much bigger than my neck. I like fat necks. No one puts fat necks stock on a guitar, much less like a really first run of import lines. Import lines never have that. So I was really impressed by that. It sounded great. Felt like a Tyler. Shoot, if I'm to be honest, like, could I fork out for another Tyler? Probably not. I would love to because there's a couple other finishes I would love to get, but I could perhaps fork out for a JTG, man. I'll touch on third power in a minute. Hot Tone, my folks at Hot Tone, they surprised me. So they have the neon line pedals. The Hot Tone Verbera is super amazing. The Hot Tone Verbera, and it is a convolution reverb, game changing. I captured all the PCM 70 and H3000 tones and stuff, put it in there, and you're like, I have an PCM 70 in a pedal now that crushes most reverbs pedals and crushes multi-effect reverb blocks and stuff, man. So good. So this neon line, they are just going for the throat, and they have, did I get it? HHH, is it that? Yes, okay. So this is a new one they just put out. I know they have a delay coming, and that's what I thought they were going to show. And then they had this guy here, the Freak Lux, and it is, I'm so glad they put this out. It is kind of modulation, but it's pitch effects. So I'm going to start with what I care about is it does a great micro pitch. It does an eventide micro pitch. So I don't have to go into an H9 personally. Look, I know Tim Pierce has like 2 on his board and he sounds pretty good. I don't like the sound of the H9. I like the sound of the pitch, micro pitch effect. But when I plug into the H9, I'm not really fond of its tone. Don't know why. But the hot tone guys, everything sounds great to me. So this will do micro pitch, and then it's MIDI controllable, so it'll do micro pitch. It'll also do just the modulation stuff, and it also does crazy pitch effects, but it'll pitch you down a whole step, up a half step. It does like arpeggiated. I don't really care about that, but this was a great surprise and super killer. So I'm trying to get one of those. I'll show you that as soon as I can. There's the Quad Cortex Mini. I don't know if any of you care about Quad Cortex Mini, but not bad. Not bad. From what I understand, it's like $200 or $300 less than getting a full Quad Cortex. So along those lines, not that great, but it's a full Quad Cortex. If you're a guy that's a Quad Cortex dude, I say guy. It's gender inclusive. If you just put a little asterisk. I always say, hey guys, to the husbands and the wives. I'm okay saying, hey ladies, to the guys too. I'm fine. It's all good. Anyway, Quad Cortex Mini is pretty good. This the DSM Dumble Fire. This is interesting. Okay, so it's solid state, all solid state. This is the DSM guys. That's their thing, is full solid state. So if you think of it more of, I just saw Amanda. We don't care. Yeah, I get it. This is, if you think of like a Sans amp, Dumbleized. Pretty good. Pretty good. It does sound solid state, but I thoroughly am enjoying playing through it. I'm enjoying it more direct than as a preamp. Then it feels really solid statey to me. Still cool. And does, like, I'll show you. I got a freaking like pretty close Robin Ford vibes going on this, from clean to like 3 stages of stuff. So that's kind of cool. It's getting tough because the Dumble thing is no longer, in my opinion, like this mystified, like, because I did that video for like $600 Dumble. Like, people crack the code. Dumble's around. So, and to be honest, like the Imperial preamp, the Tone King Imperial, that does a great Dumble. Because Dumble is just modifying Fenders and Marshalls and stuff. So for the most part, he just, he had a great ear and worked some magic. All right, I need a second. Am I going back to Namm today? Nah, I only went Thursday. I am only going Thursday. I'm only going to have gone Thursday. I can't go more, dude, even a full day. I'm just like, brain. And I get to the point where I'm like, I don't care. I just could care less. I do like meeting the people and stuff. I saw Reb Beach was playing at the Sir booth. They had some nice new guitars. I would have liked to see that yesterday. And I missed my buddy Phil Sace. He played at Seymour Duncan. I would have loved. I just missed him. I was really racing to get everything done in one day. And in fact, I have to work today. I have a trailer I have to write the music for, so that's fun. How does the VX30 compare to a matchless AC30 or HC30? Well, I of course didn't have them side by side. The matchless, to me, doesn't always sound like a Vox. It sounds like a matchless, which is like in the same way that a Soldano does. It sounds like a Marshall, but it doesn't. Diesel. It's actually started as a modified Marshall, but it doesn't sound like a Marshall. So the matchless is heftier and beefier and harder. The Vox, and I'm saying Vox because VX30 is just a great Vox example. The Vox is more organic and more, you know, just say like a little more organic, and the matchless is a little more refined. You know, an interesting test, which I won't be able to do, but an interesting test would be like the Bad Cat Era 30 versus the VX30. But if I called both companies and said, hey, would you send me one? I'd like to do this. They'd tell me to F right off. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. The pickguards are not cheap. The pickguards are like, I think $1,500 or something like that. If you want to buy a fully loaded Tyler Studio Elite pickguard. Like, so that's a tough stuff. Now you're back up into like, all right, I've just paid $3,800 for an import guitar. That's a tough one. But I mean, I do have a Studio Elite with all the pickguard stuff. So if I got the JTG, I wouldn't be mad at just having it be a guitar. Something about the headstock saying JTG and not Tyler, though, man, it's already a controversial headstock, but I do love it when it says Tyler, 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 Tyler. More power to the people who can afford this stuff, but I always check it out. But yeah, definitely moving more towards making the most of what I have. 100%. There's a beauty to that, to be honest. I mean, it's hard. It's impossible to keep up with the Joneses on this stuff. And the only reason I can is because a lot of the times the stuff is just passing through. Like I wouldn't have space for it. In fact, I have 3 Synergy combos in my front room and 4 Friedman guitars that my wife's like, can you get this shit out of here? But I don't play it because like I have something else to get to show you. Like I have to show this DSM thing and some new pedals. Like I met a bunch of people that are sending stuff. So, and then there's the stuff I want to do, which is like, I just want to plug into my old Marshall with a overdrive pedal and enjoy it. So, you know, there's a lot of grass is always greener, to be honest, especially with tone. The journey is fun. And like I said, I'll get the perfect tone and then I'll just try to get the perfect tone with something else. I've always kind of been that way with this. I like the gear journey and that, but there is nothing wrong with if you just plug into a PV Classic 50 straight wire, like that's gonna be a great tone. If you makes you happy, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure I'll get a module to demo at some point for this. But they have just so much stuff to show. It's too much right now. Well, I mean, it's the same. The price is too high for the Quad Cortex Mini. It's the same. It's a Quad Cortex, so they have to keep the price up. Otherwise, they'll just kill the Quad Cortex prices. You know, absolutely decimate it. Oh, thank you for bringing this up. How about the MXR EVH high gain pedal? Was the 5150 overdrive not high gain enough? Right? I didn't quite understand that because the 5150 overdrive is not an overdrive in the any sense of the word. It is a full blast high gain blitz. So I didn't keep it because like I don't run a dead clean tone, and anything more than that was just too much for me. So seeing this new one was a little silly. Like, is it the same exact thing, just repackaged? That was a nice red things, you know. Oh, it's funny you say that because a friend of mine was telling me that the last time he was at NAMM and Steve Vai was there, I think it was the DiMarzio booth that Steve Vai had come up to, and he had 4 big men bodyguards with him that you could not walk up to him whatsoever. Oh yeah, that would be good to get the Friedman VX30 and to try it against your ACs and stuff. Oh, you have an HC30. I forgot. Yes, Michael Torn. Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. All right. Where did I leave off? The Dumb Bullet Fire. I visited KRK. Now, this is going to fall into Amanda's We Don't Care file. But I get asked a lot, like, what speakers should I use? Or, you know, people have their first speakers, which tend to be like $100, $200, and they're not going to spend $10,000 on speakers, but they want something a little better. This is a really good option. I usually recommend Atom A7s because they are 100% professional. I have worked on them a ton, and they're great. But the KRK Rocket line, which they refreshed, in particular, I liked these 7s. I listened to all of them, are very good, and it's $500 for the pair. So, and they go down from there. They have a line actually lower where it's like $200 for a pair and stuff like that. So really good price, and they're able to get a lot into those speakers. They're quite nice, you know. All right, back to the stage. Shabbat guitars. They, you know, I love the Shabbats, but they have a new guitar called the Cheetah. It is their first 24 fret model. You know, in a familiar super Strat, slightly Charvel, slightly Ibanez, slightly Sur kind of way, but with you know, the reason I love the Shabbat guitars is every single guitar I've ever touched from them is A+. So good. Tone, consistent, great tone, like great build, and they feel great. And they have the right, for me, they have the right balance between a vintage guitar and a modern guitar. If you like vintage stuff, but you like, it's really, they're splitting down the middle. They do that really well. Like, all right, for instance, they weren't at NAMM, but I'm going to just show you my Kiesel again. I got to kill this. And show you that my Kiesel, which I love so much. There is no vintage bone in this Kiesel's body at all. It is purely modern, and it feels clearly by design. They were like, we don't make. What? Did I not have that in? That's good timing to say, like, they just decided they're going to make the best guitar. How do I lock the whammy bar in? I got to open a manual. So yeah, they just made the most modern sound feeling thing. And then if you go to like maybe a Fender custom shop or something, then that's going to be the most vintage feeling thing. And like a Sur is pretty modern. They have a different balance of modern and vintage, but I think it's, for me, I feel it as pretty modern. The Shabbat is a 50-50 vintage and modern balance, which I really love from them. I finally got to try the Magnetone amps, the Slash. I spent a lot of time on the Slash, and that is pretty cool. How much do those go for? I mean, it sounded like a Marshall, but it sounded more, I don't know if it sounded like a 100-watt Marshall to me. It sounded like a 20-watt Marshall that had infinite volume. And by that I mean, like, it had a little more compression and it was rounder, but it sounded really good and it felt good to play. And then they had another amp that was what is it called? I think it's panoramic, and it's like an old vintage, sort of like a Gibson that has vibrato, and it's clearly a vintage amp, no master volume. But what was cool is you could hook up an expression pedal to the flip switch, and that will change the vibrato, like super cool. I like that a lot. Back to the hot tone. I actually heard someone from the company pronounce it. He had a strong accent, and it was Hutton. So I'm getting closer to figuring out how it's pronounced. I have the Verbera for circular delay, and I'm planning to get another for rich plate. Should I wait for the neon delay? Do you expect it to do circular? I've thought about that too. I have two of the Verberas. I actually then also bought Strymon Big Sky because that has two IR engines in it. And I kind of prefer the two Verberas. Yeah. So do I think their delay will do the circular? Probably, but I honestly don't think that the manufacturers care that much about getting that close for it to be identical. Because between the quad cortex and the fractal, and even the hot tone other things, I'll click on 2290 delay, 2290 chorus, 1210 chorus, circular delay. None of them sound like the hardware. They sound like someone looked at the numbers and went, oh, okay, circular delay is 380, 5 in, it does this tap, and then 600, and it does this tap. Circular delay, and they put it out. But they missed the part. Why the reason it's amazing is the way it sits into the tone and sinks in. That's what's the cool stuff. And the modulation, the problems with it are also what makes it amazing. And so if they fix those problems or don't even address them, then it doesn't sound like the PCM70 circular delay. So even my Boss DD500 you can make it do a circular delay, but it sounds like a Boss doing it. Same with the Fractal. The Fractal has circular delay, but it sounds like an Axe-Fx doing it. So that's kind of the difference, is when I put in the IR of a circular delay into the Verbera, it sounds like the PCM70 doing the circular delay. All right. Fryette. Dude, how about this? Do I have a picture of the Fryette? I don't know if I do. Yeah, we're going to look. All right, while I do that, I want to share with you this stuff too, guys, because if you don't have one of these, I think you probably should get one. The ToneX plug has been so good for me. Okay, my typical evening is I sit on the sofa and I plank with no sound, right? TV's going, I can't even hear what I'm doing. So what I end up doing is going, it's like a fidget spinner. The guitar is a fidget spinner. And I'm not really playing as much as just like, you know? Now I have one little earbud in. I'm still watching TV and doing whatever. The earbud is the problem. It doesn't sound that good, but I don't care because I just adjust. I'll turn all the treble all the way down on the ToneX plug. This goes into the guitar. Everything else comes wireless from my phone. So I can have a metronome. I could have songs playing. I could have backing tracks playing from my phone. It's a pretty good tone. And it has totally changed when I'm sitting on the sofa, how I touch the guitar. Because when you can't hear it, I'm like, check this out. These lines are so smooth. And if I plugged in at that point, it's probably like, but now that I can hear the whole notes, it's like trying to get that legato movement while you're picking and stuff, the evenness, holding onto the notes, the sustain. Very great tool. And I think those come in around 150 bucks or something like that. You know, not terrible. And honestly, that's probably what I end up playing through the most. Really, really great. All right, Friet. I'm gonna see if I can find this real quick. Pitbull 2026 Namm. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Let's see. Share. All right, come on. Enough. This. Oh, come on. Go back. Oh, it's so small. Sorry. Who's this guy? This is a 100-watt tube head in a 2U. The screen is for the EQ because the Pitbulls are known to have like a Mesa-esque V EQ. IR outs. I don't know how deep the MIDI controls, if they control any knobs and stuff, but you know, channel switching, MIDI, and all that stuff. Real cool. That's pretty innovative. I mean, Friet is a pretty innovative company for being a classic tube company. But I thought that was really cool. Bad Cat has their Hot Cat 50, but what they also had was do I have a picture of it? I don't think I do. The clear tone. Bad Cat clear tone. I'm not gonna be able to find that one fast because it's a small box. That is an interesting thing. The Bad Cat, I want to say clear tone. It's like the Micnomole or the Palmer speaker simulator, if you will. So it's an analog cab sim that goes from your between your head and your cabinet. And normally I go, ugh, analog cab sim, right? That's gross. But by all accounts, this one sounds pretty good. And when it goes into like a PA system, it's kind of designed to go into a PA. They designed it to sound like your cabinet coming out of a PA. However they did that, frick if I know. But again, back to, you know, like solid state versus tube and IRs versus analog cab sim. There are people that are so sensitive to any latency, any digital, anything, that's a great option. You know, you get direct cab and it's fully analog, you know. So that is a cool box. Third Power, they got the new updated Dragon. That's the Joe Satriani signature amp, right? But the other thing that was really interesting is she made a pickup that you could only get if you buy the Joe Satriani amp. That's the only way you're allowed to buy that pickup. Isn't that kind of crazy? I just thought that was really funny. But I do love the Magfrag pickups. They've rebranded it and sort of launched it, and maybe even revised it. She said she's going to send me a pickup for my Les Paul with a Floyd. And I said, look, here's the thing. My Les Paul with the Floyd, it's it has a specific tone. And she's like, okay, I'm going to wrap my head around this. I cannot wait to get it because I have the Riot Studio, and that's a great pickup. It uses a different magnet for every 2 strings. So the lowest 2 have a more clear, punchy for the bottom strings. And by the time you get to the top, it has a more warmer pickup magnet. So when you're up on the high widdly-widdlies, then it's not biting your head off. And it blends really nicely. It's crazy. Yeah, the market's most expensive pickup for the Dragon injector or whatever it's called. It's pretty hilarious, but there's going to be someone out there that's like, I need the pickup. I know Joe Satriani, who I love his tone and I love his playing. His bridge pickup sometimes is a very it's very so signature Satriani that if I had it, I would just always sound like Satriani. So it's a dangerous game to play there, you know. All right, I'm coming up on the another amp that absolutely floored me, but right before that, the Blue Guitar Amp X. I finally got to see that in person, and it's really pretty amazing. I can't tell yet. Unfortunately, he was Thomas had it plugged into a 212, and his cabinets are very unique. They're undersized, but sound big, and they sound good, but they don't. It's not just like a typical 412 or a Mesa 212 or a Thiel 112 or anything like that. It's like they have their own sound, so it's a little hard to tell. Couldn't tell if it had completely undone that solid state power amp sound that the Amp 1 has. Amp 1 is great, and the Iridium is great, but they have a bit of a solid state power amp sound. The Amp 1, I can't tell if he says he's figured it out, but I couldn't tell from hearing it. But what was really cool is like the digital integration. And he's like, okay, and the wah, you put the wah on, the wah is actually analog. And then you could put it like a tube screamer or a Klon or whatever. Those are analog. And you could put another one, that's analog. So it's just moving components around until you get to the reverbs and delays, so which are digital. So that's a pretty cool box. I think that's pretty neat. All right, dude. So there was a guy I met, I think his name was David, and he was the rep for Blue Guitar and Orange. He goes, you want to see something cool? And at the moment I didn't. It was the end of the day and I was tired. I'm like, no, I don't want to see anything cool. I'm done seeing cool things. But I said yes. So he walks me over to the Orange booth, and you go into the back door, right? And there was a fucking hallway. Their back door thing was enormous. So we go down a hallway. This was on the floor, you know, one of the pop-ups. So we go to, there's another room we go into, and it was a listening room. There was 2 Orange 412s and the Orange OR60. Like, and a beautiful like R9 Les Paul. He goes, grab the guitar. So I plug in. Oh my God, that sounded so good. Like if I could have just been like, that's it, just I'm going to buy everything in this room, I would have taken everything in this room. And then, you know, if I could hire someone to carry it about for me. It's 6L6. It goes for about $2,400. One channel. It is so bonkers dialed in. It sounded great. Like when the gain is at like 11 o'clock, it's Led Zeppelin, you know, Free, AC/DC, and then it gains up to like a little more dirt. When you get to like 2 and beyond 2 o'clock, it's like Slipknot bonkers. Like I don't know how they kind of dialed that on one channel, but whoa, doggies, that is good. That's this amp. So gnarly. So you see there's a low power, high power switch over here on the left. And then let's be honest, I don't know what the fuck any of this does. What is this? There's a hand job down. There's a hand job up. There's a kick to the speaker, a speaker. There's a treble, clearly. This points to the bunghole. This is the bass down. and this is a haircut into a light bulb. So if I got this amp, 100%, I would get out one of those like the label makers that you go, and I would relabel everything on that front panel. I hate the orange symbol thing. Like, what the hell does any of that mean? It kind of made sense when there's 3 knobs, right? Like, I understand what a bass clef is and a treble clef is and a speaker. Done. That's it. Once you've got the hands and the feet and like a this and this, stop. This is ridiculous. Really silly. It's okay to use words. Use your words. All right, I'll go back to that. That is one of the raddest sounds I've ever heard in my life. Granted, 2 orange 412s is a great starting point for the raddest sound you've ever heard in your life. But that OR60 was delivering. It sounded great. I left that room and was like, oh, life is good again. It's just real nice. Real nice. I had a dinner with the Maton acoustic guitars people. I might hold on to your butts here. I might start doing the occasional acoustic guitar thing on my channel. Maybe. We'll see. When I'm watching what's his name? Uncle Larry, and he starts off with acoustic guitar, I just skip. I skip to him talking. So I'm not sure, but it was a cool dinner. Glenn Fricker was there. Studio Rats. I love the Studio Rats. They are great. And then there was a guy there. I was like, what do you do? And he kind of leaned back like, and I was like, no, seriously, what do you do? He's like, someone's like, oh, he's like a rock star. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I've never seen you before. What do you do? And he showed me on YouTube, and he had like 3 million subscribers. How have I've never been even shown as an option to watch it? I've no idea. Kafir? Do you guys know Kafir? Am I the only knucklehead that's never seen Kafir? Like, is he just playing in a different pool? It's wild. And he's like, you know, I do Friedman stuff and stuff. I'm like, well, how do you not know who I am? Like, if I watch everyone's Friedman videos and Synergy videos and stuff like that. Anyway, great dinner. It's great fun to see the people. Orange brought back the hieroglyphs after people complained they switched to text. Oh, people. That's hilarious. Corey James, Studio Rats are great. Big Harry plus Studio Rats. Yeah, they're my people, man. Really cool. Scent of a wheelchair pillow is up in our house. Dude, hello. Thank you for being over here. Thanks for keeping us company on a frozen Saturday stuck in the house. Have a drink on me. Thank you, sir. Or madam, it is unclear by the pillow. Women can have pillows too. I'm pretty sure you're a dude. Because a dude would name his screen name Scent of a Wheelchair Pillow. So just jumped on. Please tell me the Tone King Royalist preamp content is coming from you. Your Imperial preamp content was so good. Can't wait. Was it well received? Thank you. Yes. I just don't know when they're putting it out. So I have it here. And I was like, can I hang on to this? You want me to make a video for it? And he's like, yeah, hang on to it. but when I'm supposed to make a video, I'm not sure. It is really good. Oh, see, okay, here you go. Never heard of that dude, and Kefir is amazing. Never heard of him. Don't know who the person is. I think he's just in a different. Sounds like a drinkable yogurt. Yes, dude in a puffy shirt. He was actually a very handsome man with some great clothes. And he's from Israel. So my thought is maybe like there's regional content bias that the algorithm goes, oh, okay, well, if you're in the Philippines, we're going to blast you to everyone in the Philippines and maybe not put as many American content creators over in the Philippines or something like that, perhaps. I don't know. Really weird. All right, so that I think is that's kind of my roundup here. I'm feeling alive. So if anyone has any questions about anything else, and I'll just go back and scan, but I'm happy to hang out for a few minutes before. Oh, I'm running out of words. I've just felt it. Maybe you want to see my desktop? Cookies. These are my Christmas cookies I made. Do you know what mincemeat is? It's a very specific thing. Not everyone likes mincemeat. I love mincemeat. And they're mincemeat cookies. So they're stuffed cookies. You see, like, you have to poke a hole so the steam comes out. There's mincemeat inside. It's basically like thin sugar cookie package, like an empanada, with mincemeat in it. And it is just heavenly. Oh yeah, mincemeat pie. I've never tried one. I gotta try one. I don't even know where I would get mincemeat pie. Oh, it's gross? No. It's okay. To be fair, my wife thinks it's disgusting. My sister, this is something we grew up on, and my sister thinks it's disgusting. But my dad, me, and my brother think it's incredible. Oh yeah, mincemeat tarts. A whole pie of mincemeat. I love raisins though. I've just learned that raisins are kind of a controversial fruit. These are like rotten grapes. But boy, do I love a mincemeat. Mincemeat pie for the win. Yes, this is how we separate. This is, in the end of days, guys, it's going to be who likes mincemeat and who doesn't. Do you want to get in the bunker? You got to try this cookie. Do I have a favorite pair of small condensers for overhead and acoustic guitars? I wouldn't say I have a favorite. The like anything Neumann Cam 84, or is it the 184-ish? But I don't have don't really have a favorite. It's funny you mention it because I was talking to the studio rats, and they mentioned that they were involved in making a pair, but I'd never do acoustic guitar content. So when I do, I typically just grab like an Audio Technica 4045 or 4050. Sometimes I just grab whatever's around, to be honest. Like I have the Soyuz 1973 mic, which I love on the guitar cab. And then sometimes I'll just be like, all right, I'll just use that. But it's a FET 47 microphone. So it's really useful and versatile, great on vocals and stuff too. So, and then I just EQ it, but that's because I'm not doing like acoustic centric stuff. Maybe that's another trick, is if I get a nice acoustic guitar and I could show miking things. miking acoustic guitar in a less than perfect environment, because part of the thing, man, if you could get into a room, even like a kitchen or living room or some sort of space that when you play and it sounds gorgeous, then that's half the battle. Like the great microphone is a little less. And then for drum overheads, to be honest, I don't usually use small condensers for overheads. I try to use large diaphragms if I can. I like 87s, sometimes 414s. But because if I'm going to record drums, typically it's like, all right, we're going to go to a studio here. Like, what's the best mics you have? Because they're pretty important. So be like, oh, you have a pair of U67s, vintage Neumann U67s? Great. Let's use those. And you have a U47 and a 421. That's our room mics. And then, you know, you throw up the shitty SM57 and the whatever on D112 on the kick drums and maybe something else and here and there. And I always mic the hi-hat, and I almost always throw out the hi-hat mic at the end of the day. I'm like, I hate cymbals. And I was listening to music the other day thinking like, this is why I hate cymbals. All of the era when music sounded the best, the cymbals went away. Now I understand their importance. Like if you listen to the early Van Halen records, the cymbals and stuff, that's all kind of part of it, but they take up so much space. You listen to Def Leppard Hysteria, because it's synth drums, it's kick and snare. The cymbals went down here, and now you have all of this space for guitars to breathe and vocals to breathe and all that stuff. So between like Def Leppard Hysteria, listen to Purple Rain, like that's all Lindrum, keyboard drum or drum machine with overdubbed drums on top of it, cymbals. But because of that, you could pull those cymbals way down to a comfortable level. Listen to Ozzy Osbourne's No Rest for the Wicked. The drums are weird on that. It's like but they were doing the same thing. It's almost as if there is no hi-hat. They're like, we don't need cymbals at all. They're just, all you get is a kick and a snare. And you could tell there's cymbals back there somewhere, but it's hilarious. Like there are no cymbals. They just, well, that's the trick, right? Like, why do the guitars sound so big? Because they're the only thing in the mix. Like, you want your guitars to sound huge? Turn the guitars up, put a kick and a snare, and then pull the bass to support everything. Great. You want them to shrink? Turn all the overheads up, get the cymbals rocking, you know, put the keyboards in. Your guitars just start going, oh shit. Big picture, obviously. There's ways to do it. That was a tangent. So the IR-Load, if you run D-Rec Synergy module into it, would it get close, or is it more of a Friedman-based power amp feel? Oh, that's a good question. So when I had the 90s dual rectifier here, I was lucky enough I had it for like months, like 6 months or so, which was such a fun, it's a great amp and so fun. It's just pretty expensive coming from when I know that you used to be able to get a dual rectifier for $1,200 to go like, oh, I'm paying $3,000 for a dual rectifier. And right around the same time, I got the dual rectifier module. I put it in the Syn 20 and the direct out on the Syn 20 versus the dual rectifier into a load box into the DAW using the same IR. I was able to match them dead on. But obviously in that scenario, the dual rectifier head is at a handicap because what that head is meant to do is fill a room and fill a speaker cab. So if you were A-Bing through a Mesa 412, the SYN20 will get eaten alive compared to the 100-watt dual rectifier, right? So I understand your question is because the Friedman IR-Load is a Marshall sounding, Friedman sounding power amp emulation, is it going to pull the DREC synergy module away from that? It probably would a little bit. I'm going to bring that up as well. But I don't think that'll matter because that's a voicing thing that is between Dave and Pete. So that's like, that's not as much like, hey, what do the masses want? I mean, that's the signature Dave Friedman, Pete Thorne load box. So they're very much like Marshall guys in terms of like the power section. So I couldn't see that really changing. Couldn't foresee that changing. But having used the SYN20 IR for a long time, and then I have used the pedal head quite a bit, there is a significant difference between the Marshall Friedman amp model, power amp emulation, and the right side Soldano rectifier diesel VHT heavy, bigger, say. Like the entire contour sort of shifts, and the way it's pretty dramatic. It's pretty dramatic. I had a great player I was sitting with that was playing through it. That comes from like the Lukather era stuff, and he was like, he had played a bunch with Lukather and that. And he just great. He loved the middle, the Fender one, and it does. It was like the way he played. It just what's happening? It just opened up when he played that way. So there is a real nice thing about having those power amp models for that. But you know, with the DREC into the IR-Load, crank up the depth, and then I feel like maybe even just working that reactance knob, you can get something pretty close. It's not going to be the same, but it'll be ballpark. I don't think it would be enough to be like, well, I'm not getting it, unless you're diehard rectifier guy. Like rectifier I'm all about rectifiers, right? And then it might be something to think about. I didn't see that. I have to take a look at what that is. I don't know. It's hard when you know, they're out of Italy, and I've checked in at one point, and kind of tricky. Sometimes too, when if I had just done a demo. What was the product? Like I had just done a desktop Friedman thing, and then I was talking to Red 7 about doing their desktop thing, and it was like they were just so back to back. It was like, this is, I don't know, it's just didn't seem like that wasn't going to work out. So then I don't know, maybe they'll never send me anything ever again. I'm not sure. New Friedman amp box, can it be used for reamping from your DAW to an amp? What do you use to reamp? Thanks. Not as it's really tricky because the reamp word is, I can't think of another word to hit a load box and then amplify up that load, like load amp. This is just reamping is what that is. Reamplifying versus reamping, which is taking a direct signal and then coming out of the computer and then into a tube amp to re-record that thing you recorded with a new sound. I had been using very much the UTA, undertone audio, but I swapped for this. This is what I'm using for my reamps, the reamp station, DI and JCR. So it's both it's this is my DI that goes into then a preamp, then into the DAW. So I'm hitting the DI, and then you can't see it, but I have an API preamp that it's hitting. It's a lot of work. That undertone audio one, you could go directly from its DI into the DAW. And then when you come out of the computer, it comes out into here, we're here, and then that line goes into my DAW. Very transparent, very good. Good price on these, a little better. You can see I have to remember what to set up in my computer. If I want to use a DI, I get 3, and if I want to reamp, I go to output 5. Good price. And Radial is the only company that is allowed to say reamp because they own reamp. It's actually a thing. So everything else has to be like fudging around that, you know. I'll make mincemeat out of you. I brought my mincemeat cookies to a party, and people were like, so does it have like steak in it? I'm watching your video on the Wampler pedal head. I'm still confused on what it is. Is it just a power amp? The Royalist you used could go straight into the interface or run into an amp, right? Thank you for asking. The Wampler pedal head is a power amp with tube tonal technology, so it sounds like a tube power amp, and it has like learning, so it learns your speaker cab's impedance and how that is working. So it is unlike any other solid state power amp, but it is a power amp. It also has direct out and headphone outs, so you could use that with IRs and stuff. Now the Royalist, sorry I'm recapping, gang, but this is just consolidating. The Royalist is a preamp with power amp simulation, and you could go out direct to your computer right here. You could loop it in with your amp and stuff. But if I plugged an output from the Royalist into a speaker cab, you would get no sound. There's no sound whatsoever. If I plugged my guitar directly into the pedal head, it would be clean, loud and clean, right? Because that's what a power amp does. So you go guitar into the Royalist, into the pedal head, into a speaker cab. And then you have several choices of how you want to get to the computer or the mixer or front of house, right? In that setup, you would not have to mic your speaker cab, and it would probably sound better just coming out of the direct IR output from the pedal head or from the Royalist. And what's coming out of your speaker, because this is an amazing preamp with direct recording capabilities, and the pedal head is an amazing sounding power amp. What will come out of your speaker is going to be satisfying and glorious and three-dimensional and beautiful. Really, really nice. Back to mincemeat. Am I the only one in my house who likes raisins? Cole, as I take it, you like raisins. I used to love the little box, the little sunshine raisin box. And then you could, when you're done, you could blow on it like a harmonica, and it goes like. Did you remember that when we were kids? Throw those, and because it would sit in your lunchbox and sort of get sweaty, they would just merge into one giant king raisin, like monster raisin, and you just like put it in your mouth like chewing tobacco. This statement coming from the perfect mullet is a combination that is just excellente. Mwah. Best size lens for content creation in a small studio. Whatever works, because I mean, what am I using here? I'm using an 11 to 20 millimeter Tamron on top of a Sony ZV-10, ZE-10, ZV-10, whatever it is. So it's really because I'm close. I mean, I'm touching the back wall. It's about 6 inches to the lens, about, I don't know, 18 inches to my face here. And then you can see where the other wall is. It's not that far. So, I mean, the room looks significant because of just how aspect ratios work and stuff. But anyone that comes over, they're like, this is small. Yeah. There's also these. This is the new shit. This is called Extra. Where is it? Come on, man. Where's the logo? Here it is. Extra. Muse. The company's Extra. This is sort of like the cheap version of the camera that everyone's walking around with that's like $1,000. So this one is more like $600, I think. And it has this little built-in screen on the back, and you saw it's like a full gimbal, so you can walk around and be like super cool with stuff. It has this joystick, so you could aim. See, here I am. What's up? And it shoots in 4K and really good. And I think I might start trying to use this for some of the content. I was actually going to use it today, but I woke up really early and then didn't feel like trying any new technology. KM84s are, yeah, they're great. But you know, it's so funny, dude. These days, like when I was coming up, like, oh, you got to have apogee converters or your music will sound terrible. You're like, okay, yeah, I got to spend all this money on apogee. Got to have a Neve API or SSL EQs and then Manly. It's like now, look, can you see these? I got to make Brax go away there. I have these preamps now here from Heritage, and they look like Neves, but they're basically Neve 1081s, and they sound incredible. They sound like Neves. They are amazing, and they're less than $100. No, not less than $100. Less than $1,000 each, I believe that was. If I go back not too long ago, to a $1,000 preamp EQ sounds like trash. So the same thing is happening with microphones. There are so many good microphones that are emulations of KM84s and U87s, and they're like $300, and they're good. To be honest, they are really good. Like this Octava is a company that I remember. I worked at Guitar Center in, I think it was 1989. And Octava had just come out and everyone was blown away. Now, at the time, their microphones, if you breathed on them wrong, they would break, but they sounded great. And so the Octava, they're still around and they make a great budget microphone. And then AKG 414 is, you know, that's been around forever. Have you had more time to play on the Friedman Jose? Do you have any additional thoughts about it? Yeah, I actually use it all the time. It's kind of the amp I have up. It's kind of the amp I have up all the time. I have a Sin 20 in here. I do use that from time to time. And I have my Marshall, my Plexi is on the floor right here. But to use the Plexi, I have to be running into a load box and it's a drag. And I worry about just having it on all the time on 8 or 10 if I'm just killing the tubes. So the Jose is awesome, and it does a great Plexi. I did have Dave mod it so that he took out the bright cap. I could switch the bright cap in and out. So I could do a low gain version of it that's very close to my Plexi. And then I could do, it's like a high gain chameleon. Like it could do the Warren DeMartini stuff. It could do Van Halen, obviously. And then it could do full heavy, big Metallica stuff. So yeah, it's kind of right now, it's kind of my go-to for most stuff, to be honest. I don't You'll see it in a lot of videos and stuff, but it doesn't love overdrive pedals. It kind of doesn't need them because, I mean, it's got a whole tube gain stage going there. The Bogner Ecstasy 104 loves overdrive pedals. The Friedman Jose doesn't really. So I don't really use it in demos like that much, but for effect demos or anything like that, I will. And it's a great sound. So like I used it in that last video just because it was up with announcing the new Synergy stuff. Back to that hi-hat on drums, miking that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I always mic it. I just 99% of the time I don't. Sometimes I'll just tuck it up ever so slightly. And usually if the beat or the groove is really reliant on some, if they're going full Jeff Porcaro, then I will. All right, sold on the Wampler pedal head. Yeah, it's really good. So useful too. Yeah, in-ear mixes. I mean, they're so important. The hi-hats and the ride and stuff are so important to keep your swing in your pocket locked with the drummer. But I also don't want to hear it. It's a really tricky place to live. Oh, what's my ultimate setup going to be? I'm very excited about the PX amp. So that's definitely on my radar. And I'm keep going back and forth between the PX amp and a pretty deluxe pedal board of stuff, or the PX amp and the Axe effects as effects. I think it's going to be the pedal board ultimately, or putting a Syn 2 in this rack and the Wampler pedal head, just Velcro it to the bottom. So I have two preamps with the pedal head and this Synergy as the rack. And then I've just got this little 6-bass rack with a suitcase handle, and I could wheel that, and that's everything. That would be really convenient. So I'll probably have that as one setup. And then I think I'd probably have like the Plexi, the JMP module, maybe the Soldano module as well. And or the Lawler Imperial, Tone King Imperial, and the JMP module. Maybe throw in the PX PX0 overdrive. Or a pedal board with the Royalist and the Imperial and a Wampler pedal head. That would be really great. So yeah, I don't know. A couple Verberas. I don't know. Just need a bunch of stuff. I need it. Shoe Fly Pie. I have not heard of this. I'm going to ask my buddy from Harrisburg. That's close to Amish World, isn't it? Ah, Walrus Canvas Reamp. You're using it for pedals in Utah. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Thank you for bringing that up. Let me take a look. British mincemeat is a traditional dish, probably. Raisin Lord. The next t-shirt. British mincemeat is a traditional sweet mixture of chopped dried fruits, spices, sweet and spirit, brandy, and rum. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like? It's great. Yep. I didn't like peanut butter and jelly as a kid. I had food texture issues. I liked peanut butter and I liked jelly, but I didn't like peanut butter and jelly. I'm stupid. So I always had a turkey sandwich, and the cheese and turkey would get all sweaty. I had a little orange juice, raisins, and if I was lucky, I had some chips. If I was lucky. If I wasn't lucky, I had carrots. Remember when you redid the studio? Ah, cool. Are you still doing ninja stuff? Yes, actually, that as soon as I get off this, I am doing ninja stuff. That is my company. We do movie trailers and video game scores. And well, I do video game scores on my own, but my company does movie trailers. And I don't know what this movie is that I'm doing the trailer for, but I'm taking a song. This is in fashion these days. I'm taking a song and taking a 90s Sheryl Crow song and making it aggressive and badass. So how that's going to be done, I don't know. You just have to go like, here's a little thing. Maybe it'll help someone. I used to get so frustrated and be like, this is an insane thing to ask for. You can't make it, if they request for it to be slower so that it's higher, but it's faster and an octave slower. That is, those insane things that people request. And then they just leave it for you. And you're like, what am I supposed to do with this information? One is like, that's your job. The job you signed up for. So that's my job, is to decipher the madness. But the other thing is, if it's like, this is not an insane request. They're asked, they say, hey, we love this song. Sheryl Crow, it's mid-tempo, upbeat, mid-tempo. Make it aggressive. Okay, well, it's impossible. But if I don't do it, someone will do it. I'll hear it at the end of the day and go like, oh, that's how you do it. So what I had to do at some point along the line is I figured out, like, it's like you have to just jump in a little mental time machine, and it's already done. Like, it can be done, and it is done. Well, and how did they do it? How did I do it? And if you work backwards that way, sometimes it's a little bit of liberating on things where you're stuck and you're like, how this can't be done. And that you could have this approach on songs too. If you're writing and that, you could be like, oh, I'm so stuck. It can't be done. It's like, you just have to change your mentality to like, well, the song is done. I'm sure if you gave your song, hypothetical, you gave your song to Diane Warren or someone else, like a great songwriter, like, they'll finish the song and you'll go, oh yeah, okay, well, that is great. I get it. So you just have to tap into that thing that floats around up here and be like, oh, I know it's up there. I just got to grab it and kind of let go of this is impossible, and just start chipping away. And it's small, sometimes small bites. Like, if I only know, like, all right, well, I'm going to start with just the drums. So I'm going to shove everything into the drum energy, and then don't be afraid to throw it out later. You're like, oh, okay, well, that was a bridge to get things moving. Doesn't work now, but at least it got things moving, That's a tangent too. If you don't have a cab, is the Wampler still going to give you a tube amp tone and feel with the direct out? Yes, and there's a headphone out, but I think maybe there's a better solutions at that point, if that's the only reason you're using it for, unless you have a specific thing where you're like, I just like to take my metal zone and hear it straight in. And then you go, okay, well, boom, plug it in, get a little bit of tube power amp saturation going, and then hear that. But if you're looking for just a direct out, then I would have to ask what you're using. Like, if you have a tube amp head, you can't, the Wampler is not a load box, so you'll need a load box also. So just be aware of that. Braxel, you like 421s with 57s on guitar cabs. Seems like many do not like it. Yes, I am not a huge fan of the 421s. I'm going to do a video with just to hear some different mics to show people. The 421 has kind of a pointy nasal thing, which is why it works so well on toms, drum toms, and like kick drums and stuff, because it's sort of like it gives you a bottom end, then the sound goes away, and then it gives you like a punch. So yeah, if you're doing like hard or aggressive stuff, it kind of does that to your sound, and then the 57 will balance out the sonic information around that. But it can also be a little icky. That said, what is his name? Brendan O'Brien. I think that was his deal. 421 and a 57 on a 412 cab, and it was like Stone Temple Pilots and Pearl Jam and like every good sounding band. Anything he touched sounded incredible with incredible guitar tones. Black Crowes. But I typically don't. What I've been doing lately is Dave Friedman told me, he's like, the Van Halen trick, which at one point I heard it was a SM57, like straight on at like the dust cap, and then an SM58, like angled in towards the dust cap, right? And he's like, nah, it's 257s, like that sort of thing. And I tried it, and it's great. It's really good. Yeah, I had the Jose modded, but very simply, it's one pole switch to take out the bright cap. I push it in, the bright cap is out. If I pull it out, the bright cap comes back in. If you use the gain knob up, you would never even notice it ever. It has zero effect on it. It's only because I'll take the gain mode, gain style, and plexi drive. I just go to plexi, and then gain style is in the middle, and low gain, the extra gain stage is not in there. So if you're trying to get a clean tone out of the Jose, which is stupid, then you need to have the bright cap out. But as soon as you get into like Van Halen and above, it makes no difference. Well, exactly. You really don't need it. The most you would need is like a clean boost or an EQ pedal. And that's what I found the best thing is just an EQ pedal. If you want to cut a little bottom from your guitar to get tighter and get like a dB or two more level from your pickups or something like that. Oh, sweet. Well, thank you so much. Michael Torrens got that too. And, I'm always just trying to catch up on the stuff I have here, but I really appreciate that. That's nice of you. My Plexi clone has a post-phase inverter master volume and effects. I run a PAE2 power amp emulator pedal. Okay, PAE2 power amp emulator pedal in the loop, emulating cranked up power section. Saves on tune. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm unaware, but I'm gonna wait a minute. That does ring a bell. I'm gonna look into that again. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Did I understand you like using the radial more for reamping and DI in? More. Do I like it more than the undertone? The undertone was super transparent. The only reason I swapped out is because of ToneX. Trying to capture as much of a unity gain. The undertone always has this, it cuts 6 dB. And so, but on the way out, it adds 6 dB. So if you're recording, you're in great shape. It's totally fine. I just wanted, if they had a 0 dB where it was straight unity, I would have been perfect in there. But the gain staging on ToneX is such a pain to capture stuff. You know, it's a super annoying, weird thing. Could you chain the Tone King Imperial and Royalist together by routing the effects send from one? Yeah. Yeah. What Drew Sky Jones is talking about is in the back of either of these, they have the same back panel, is you see there's an effects loop. Nope, sorry, effects loop. And down here it says like 2 amp in from amp return, and then to the amp from the amp send and stuff. That is so you could loop in another amp so that I'm on the Royalist clean, then I'm on the Royalist dirty, and then I hit bypass and the sound goes, I take the preamp from whatever I'm plugged into, and now it's going through this. It's crazy. I can't even imagine like the stuff going on to make that happen. So yes, you can wire one into the other. One has to be the master and the other has to be the servant of this. So so let's say the Royalist is the master. I could hit bypass on the Royalist, and now I'm over here, and I have 2 channels of Imperial, and I come off the bypass, and I'm back on either of the 2 channels of the Royalist. Other cool thing is that the Imperial will get the reverb, or if you're a big fan of the tremolo and stuff, you have your effects over on the Imperial, and they'll come in, whatever. So yeah, these 2 and a pedal head is an insane amp. Someone, you know, if they're ever like, why doesn't anyone make the perfect Fender Marshall combination amp like that? That's pretty freaking close. As someone who already owns a pair of Friedman power stations and the TwoNotes Reload 2 is the new Friedman IR-Load, different, better, that I could replace what I already have. For sure different. I don't know if you have to sell 3 things and get 3 new Friedmans. Because they're different. I'm just not sure how you're using it. Because that's the thing. The Friedman does everything that all of these do in one box. And it does it as good as the others do. So it's, but if you're only using the power station or the reload for a specific thing and it's working, then you're kind of good. That's kind of that's life, right? Yeah, I'm gonna thank you. I'm rethinking my channel for 2026. I was going through stats and stuff and actually going through ChatGPT, and it goes, oh yes, your channel has, don't think of your channel as not doing well. It is at a professional plateau. It's like, oh, well, that sounds like it's not doing well. and it's like, no, that's about, all of the stats are like, that's about what it is when you're doing gear demos and stuff. So I'm gonna try and expand into just some other stuff, and I don't know, we'll see if it works. I think what I'm going to do for the live chats is maybe the first live chat of each month, bring in a guest, because it is nice to have a conversation rather than just to be talking all the time. It's actually the first time I don't feel sick in the past since like December, so it's nice to be able to talk. Yeah, the new Laney Super Grace. That is cool. It's actually a collaboration with Grace Amplifiers, which I was happy to see that, because I thought maybe Billy just took the name and gave it to Laney, and I was a little bummed. But then I saw that Grace is involved in that. So that's got to be really cool, because the Grace amps are great. Really underrated. Did Bob Rock use that? I think one of the keys to the Bob Rock Metallica guitar tone is something that's gone away. Definitely has gone away once we got past the 90s and into the 2000s, and especially like when you didn't have to go to a big professional studio. That's when it really went away, and people go, oh, I'll just cut the guitars at home. So what do you do when you cut guitars at home? You close mic it. So you take an SM57 and another one, or a Royer 121, and you go, oh yeah, it sounds great. Take an SM57 and a 421, you're like, all right, cool, that sounds great. But what mic doesn't ever get thrown in there is the room mic, because you don't have room. You just have I say you, I mean me too. It doesn't sound great to have a room mic in a small, it has room nodes and it's echoey and fluttery and crummy, right? Bob Rock, with the Metallica guitar tone, from as I understand it, didn't start with the SM50 and SM57 and 421 close up on the mic. You start with, I'm standing in front of this epic sound. What does it sound like? Cool. Put a mic there. That's the sound, right? And you could hear it. So you get, it's not the close mic that is doing that. That's why they could scoop the crud out of their tone and it still sounds big and full. So, and you get that big bottom. That's where all the big bottom comes from, is you got to step away from the cabinet a little bit. And if you compare and contrast that with guitar tones later, when everything is close mic'd, there's a depth and dimension that's just not there anymore. And it's not in fashion anymore either, because it's been so drilled into us, like close mic, close mic, close mic. But that room mic is the body of the sound, and it's very difficult to recreate without having a speaker cab in the room, in a nice sounding room. It's a real, I've tried it in a million ways, like use the Procacity reverb. That's going to sound like a room. Doesn't do it. I've tried it with IRs, doesn't do it. It's the actual speakers in the cabinet behave differently when they're projecting in a big room. It's like the physics of the box really come into play. In the same way, if you take a cabinet and put it in a box, literally, I've done this. I built a huge road case in my garage many years ago, wired down through the wall, that outlet for the microphone. So I'm upstairs to second story, and then down the wall into the garage, there is a 412 in a road case with 2 feet of space in front of it, and it sounded horrible. Why? I'm close micing it. Why doesn't it sound the same? It just, the sound pressure and everything just kind of, it all falls apart. So yeah, I think he whatever you put in the front, yeah, you put the SM57 up front, but like to get a great guitar sound like that really captured that. There was one more, and it probably was like a U87 or something like that, that just was like captures the whole sound. And then these bring it a little more into your face, the 57 421. It's the same principle with drums. If you take your drums and you put your 57 on the snare, D112 on the kick drum, 421s on the toms, close mic your hat, and put your overheads, and you just call that up, to me, it doesn't sound very good. It's like, all right. It's the next step. It's 6 feet in front of the drum kit where you go, oh, that sounds like drums. Where one mic can pick up the instrument of the drum kit rather than snare, kick. But it's different. It's flavors, you know. It's like baking. One thing you're trying to make a cookie, and the other you're making a cake, and you're making a flan. So the style is super direct. Like you listen to I don't know, Periphery or something like that. There's no space for the drums. There's so many guitars going on. The drums need to hit and be in and out so fast. So it's like a different style of thing. Oh, neon pink Shabbat, cheetah. Very nice. Oh, you had that mod on the Jose too. Awesome. That's good to hear. Boss BP1. I'll look into that. Very cool. All right. That's a lot of monologuing. Yeah, especially as time goes on, like you get a Marshall Jose, modded Marshall, and then you have a Mesa Boogie scooped out, like the two working together in the same room. This okay, I'm going to go off a little more still. When I recorded Philip Sace's first album, Peace Machine, we had 3 amps in a huge studio. And we recorded it live down. So it's Kenny Arnoff drumming. Bass was in the control room going direct. But Phil and Kenny were in the same room. And Phil had 3 amps going. And we were capturing each amp, but capturing the 3 amps in the same room into one microphone is a different, unrecreatable thing that is so sad that we can't access this. And it is not that I've tried. You take 3 plugins or you take 3 Axe Effects patches and you go to one. It's like that is not the same thing. It's the promised land, you know. Just cannot recreate it. Yeah, the drums. That's because they treated the drums like an instrument rather than, oh, cool, you got your kick snare, tom, 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 and it makes more sense, you know, when you get to like Neil Peart. You want to hear the articulation of every going down there, and they still, I mean, he's got some of the best drum sounds ever. Moving Pictures is just like amazing, but you could hear how that's still an instrument. It's not just elements poking out. So it's about just like put one mic up. Does it sound like drums? Great. Now work from there and augment it. Put 2 mics up. Cool. You got stereo, and now fill in the picture. For first Bogner Ecstasy purchase, 104 or find a used 101B. 104 is the definitive one to get. Well, I would say if you are a hard rocker, maybe go 101B, find a used 101B. It's hard not to say just find a used 101B because the price is going to be wildly different. You could almost probably get 2 101Bs for the price of the 104. But if you are a, like Steely Dan had Bogner Ecstasies in their world forever. If that's your world, why you're like, you want Landau vibes and Dan Huff vibes, and you do dirty stuff, but you want the clean and you want the in-between clean and all that, the 104 cannot be beat. The low gains on the 104 are so juicy. It is unbelievable. It is so good. That's where that amp is just like so good. If you're going hard rock stuff, then it wants to be loud. That's when those channels come alive for me, is when it's really loud. So just take that into consideration. Like if you're like, nah, I play in a punk band, but I love the Bogner sound, just grab a 101B. Good night. Good night. Just woke up. Good night, Jim. All right. 2 hours plus. Saturday hang. Awesome. Happy Saturday, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Eric Valentine, I love his approach to instruments and stuff too. Really great. He's been his his tonality has been really influential. Queens of the Stone Age and the Slash Snake. I think it's just Slash. I think not Snake Pit. I think it was the first Slash album, and he did a Aussie song. That's like, that is freaking so good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Same with bass. Yeah, you could put a 421 on a bass is pretty standard. A Sennheiser 421 up close, but that sounds fine. If you could get a microphone, get a FET 47, 3 to 5 feet away, now you're moving air, dude. That is amazing. Syn 20 with BE Deluxe or PX20, mainly put on record with more or less. Okay, last question. Ask Dave. You know what? Ask Dave Friedman. He'll have no problem telling you. I mean, as a dude that makes his living modding amps and stuff, he's super generous with information like that. And he does not. If you said I don't like the Jose, but this is the tone I really have been looking for, he'll help you. Like, pretty rare dude that way. Really awesome. Oh, Jim's in South Africa. Whoa, that's amazing. Okay, so last question. I am such a big fan of the Syn 20 Deluxe because I'm a little chaotic and ADHD, whatever, with amp tones. So yeah, for a month I might be like, yes, it's all the JMP, and then the next month I might be like, oh, it's all the Imperial, and the next month I might be like, oh, it's all the whatever, you know, high gain thing. It's going to be all the Soldano. So it's a pretty necessary amp for me to have around. It sounds great at low volumes. It sounds amazing to record with. The direct out is awesome on it. Hard to beat, in fact. So the Phil X, the PX20, the new one, is gonna be dope. But does it? I don't think it has a direct out, like an IR out. So then you're talking about getting also a solution to load box it down and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and you're even just getting a Syn 20 and a BE Deluxe, you're coming in at what, $1,200 or something like that, I think. And the PX20 is starting, as we're guessing, about 17. So, yeah. And keeping in mind, the PX20, like I said, is a fantastic clean channel, like a Dumble. But the Syn 20 has a really great built-in clean. And the BE Deluxe is that Friedman sound, like modded Marshall, Dave Friedman sound. The PX20 is like a JCM 800. So just, you know, they are slightly different. It's not like a one-to-one, like if you said, well, if you were asking, should I get a pink taco or the Syn 20 with the BE Deluxe, I would say it would be really easy just to say, get that, you know. Yeah. Cool. Thank you kindly. All right, gang, post Namm. We did it. Oh, so it's close. Okay. Price wise. Yeah, still tough. I think you have to ask yourself, are you a kind of person that's like, you bought it and then you're done? That's the last amp you're getting? Because if it is not, it's really easy to swap amps on the Synergy for $300, $400, rather than going, oh shoot, I gotta sell it and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I hope that's helpful. Here's my shirt today, guys. All I need is this guitar and that guitar and those guitars and the ones in the other room. That's all I need. That's all I need. You know, just need all the guitars. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you guys and gals. Thank you to Amanda. Odds are Amanda is the only woman here, and thank you for braving the room. Thank you for all the gentlemen that have been here, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye, gang.